Hello, good evening. Welcome back to the Bach Cello Suite workshops. It's been a long break. My apologies. There were some unexpected concerts, and of course, we want to take each opportunity these days. So I took them, and so it was quite a busy weeks. But after this long break, we are back for the Gigue from the Fifth Suite, and my guest tonight will be my dear friend, amazing musician, conductor Pablo Heras-Casado. And he will be with us in about 15 minutes after we talk about our Gigue. So I want to, because we had this very long break, I want to give you again some perspective about how we get to this Gigue. So you remember we start with this very stormy prelude. I won't play it again because I already talked about it basically in each movement of the fifth, because it's so decisive how this prelude starts. We have our fugue, our only fugue for solo cello by Bach within this prelude. We have the Allemande with all these still French dotted, punctuated rhythms. So with a lot of energy and dignity at the same time, an extremely concentrated implosion within the courante. And then you remember there is this big, like if we went over a cliff into the sarabande, where we enter timelessness, a zone where Bach manages to give us a feeling, a sense that we escape from materia, from actual, yes, from, he unable to lift us, quite far away from this world, but very close to our souls. Maybe, I'm trying to just express what I feel, no matter how imperfect it is. And then we had, you remember these gavottes, which are very soft, tender gavottes. So still in this, after this sarabande, I think Bach wants to leave us in something. We don't go back to what was the beginning, the very stormy first half of the suite. It's going to be a bit similar in the Gigue. Before I go into this, I have to make a follow-up on 2 points I'm just seeing on my notes that I wrote there, and then we will get to our Gigue. Since there was so much time since the last episode, people came back to me about some things I said, something I suggested, and some questions that I was raising. There was something, you remember, I mentioned about the very beginning of the prelude, where in the cello version, there is no natural in front of the A. So theoretically, in Anna Magdalena's and I discovered it myself sort of on the way during these workshops, and I found it very exciting. At least I'm not sure I was, that this is the right thing, but I found it very interesting. And even though the lute version contradicts with the A natural, now Eva Morgenstern, who is in Freiburg and who has been watching all the episodes since a very long time and giving me a lot of feedback, she gave me a very important point. She said, actually, that she has never seen in Bach, in any other piece, that he would use in a scale like this, ascending one, that he would use the augmented second. And of course, I think that's a very good argument. I wanted to share it with you. And if some of you have a very decisive feedback to give about this, please, you are very welcome to do it, as always. The other thing is that in the meanwhile, since I did the workshop on the sarabande, I had a lesson on the sarabande with my dear student Benedict, and and he had watched the episode. Thank you, Benedict, and he was actually trying to reflect on it in his playing, but I could see that his slurs were very. He wanted to respect the slurs and have a great legato. And we both realized that in this particular case, this is a good example that a slur, you have to play legato if you play a slur, but you do need this emphasis on the second beat through the dissonance is going to be nevertheless predominant in a way. So that even though I have a slur, within the slur, I do have to dig in when I reach the second beat, much more than we would do in a normal slur. I thought I would share it with you, dear colleagues out there, to make sure there is no misunderstanding about this. That, yeah, we have had already almost, I think, 29 episodes to talk about slurs, and but this is one more example of how the infinite variety about slurs. Now I come back to the subject of the day, our Gigue. Our Gigue, I think, still goes on in this character that was given to us in the Gavotte. It's not going to be a fiery Gigue. It's not going to be a very dancing one. It's a philosophical one. It's one that I put the adjective soothing. For me, it's a very soothing music. You will see. It still has the punctuated, the dotted rhythms of the French influence that all this suite is having, but in a very, I find, gentle, soothing way. I will play just a little bit and then I will give you a few commentary about this. So, first remark, 3/8. 3/8 suggests a rather slow Gigue. It's not a 6/8, it's not a 12/8 like we have had in some other suites, a 3/8. So we're really 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we cannot be very fast. First remark. The dotted rhythms, you noticed, again, the French presence. Now, the first remark I want to make is that obviously, even though we have very small bars, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, they are organized very clearly. The basic pattern is 4 bars. So why is it important? Because I think it's important that you feel that your phrasing and your bass line is going to the 3rd bar, and that from there you relax. So so that the 4th bar of this is only, you remember, I call it confirmation notes, like Anna Belsma taught me. So when you start this, don't give too much bow, so that you, as you go to the 3rd bar, you give a bit more bow, so that your phrasing is clearly balancing towards this 1st bar, this 3rd bar. And here, these are confirmation notes. What does that mean? Less weight in the arm, less bow. And then go to the next structure of 4 bars. Now, what he does here is what we have seen also in some other places, and which I love very much, is that at the end of this second series of 4 bar, instead of doing this motif that we had before, he does so now, which was just the end, the little conclusion of this 4 bars. but he's going now to use it, of course, as a main motive. And this, in this way, by doing smaller structures, two bars, as we have seen in other suites, he, after having clearly four bar, he does two to lead us to the highest point of this first part. So in that way, with smaller elements, he creates a longer phrase. A little detail I wanted to share with you is that this that this little motif, remember from the Allemande? This was our main element in the Allemande, and it's so nice that even in the small detail, Bach enjoys working on the motifs as well. Now, an important event is happening as we reach this highest note of this first part, is that we are going to do a sort of, I will call it now, it's probably the wrong term, but a reversed hemiola. So you remember, we have seen so many hemiolas, we have talked about them. It's when mainly, most of the time, we are in a rhythm of three, you know, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then we skip every second beat in order to do a larger pattern, that to bring two bars together in a slow 1, 2, 3, 1. That's the most classical hemiola. Now here what Bach does is that, and it's the only time in all the 6 suites, and it's rather rare, is that after installing this very clear balancing in 4 bars, in 2 bars, we are going to go in 3 bars. 1, 2, 1, 2. So twice 3 bars, and which gives us, I think, a sense of suspension. And for those of you cellists out there, I would suggest make sure that you sustain enough your sound to the second bar, and then our four concluding bars, again normal. We start the second half, as always, with our basic structures. Again 4 bar. So we have done our modulation and our episode in G minor with nice 3 episodes of 4 bars. Now we do a sequence, so which gives us a nice and friendly balancing. F minor, E flat minor. And by the way, remember, for those of you cellists, enjoy this duality. You have 4 bars in F minor, the bars in E flat major, and give each tonality its color. So there is this dialogue. Now again, the smaller structures in order to make a longer phrase. We could think that we have arrived. We are again in our home key of C minor, but for the very end of this Gigue, at the very end of this very expressive 5th suite, he wants to give us more. We do one more last modulation. Again, the hemiola, we are in 3, 2. The concluding bars. By the way, little detail. This time 6 bars instead of 4 for the conclusion. You know, he could have done like 4 bars like he did at the end of the first part, but instead now one last thought I want to give to you about this way that Bach works on motives and on tensions and release and things. He based all these fifth suites on these first 2 bars, like he does very often. He impresses us, but in this case it's very, very striking. The first bar is ascension and drama. I'm going back to the prelude and you will understand why. So we rise, very dramatic gesture, and the second bar is we recover from this descending line. So a rising one and this shock of energies is going to build basically all the suite with some movement actually putting the accent on the descending line, like the Allemand, and on the contrary, the courante, the ascending line. So the rising and the voluntary rising of the line. Now this Gigue definitely, like in the Allemande, is actually dealing mostly, as a main motive, with the descending line. And it's the same thing here in the end. My little explanation for these 6 bars instead of 2 is that Bach wants to bring us up one last time, so that we finish in this descending line, which I don't think is resignation, because in Bach I don't think there is ever really resignation. He was never, But anyways, that's my understanding. So, but we rise one last time in order to be able to finish again with the descending line, and go to the absolute bottom, the low C, where you remember where we started at the beginning of the prelude. Enough talking. We now have the great joy. Well, no, there will be more talking, but enough talking by myself. Now is the great moment where we welcome Pablo Heras-Casado. Dear Pablo, can you hear me? Can we see you? Dear Pablo, yes.
Et voilà.
Et voilà. Dear Pablo, thank you so much for taking the time tonight.
No, of course. It's been, first of all, well, it's so great to see you. I think last time we saw each other was in Berlin in June.
Yes.
We saw each other live, and after that, we've been trying to get this moment together since a long time, but I'm so happy and I'm thrilled. You cannot imagine how much I've enjoyed this 17 minutes of music that you have gave us. Really wonderful.
Pablo, it's too kind. Yes, we have tried for a long time to find this moment, but it's so crazy. Before we go to our subject, I want to talk about the context, that it's almost paradoxical that we do find a little moment. You managed to find a little moment in the middle of you are in a production of Siegfried in Madrid at the opera. Do you want to tell us a few words about this?
True.
It's seen from Germany, where I am right now. This is like a dream. So how is that possible? Is Spain showing the way to the rest of Europe? Because I think you guys are.
Exactly. Can you imagine in these times how not just to make music, a few of us, but to put together a production of Siegfried, one of the biggest challenges in musical theater, and yes, I mean it is possible. It is possible. Teatro Real in Madrid since late June they decided in the previous months in Spain was very tough, and it was a complete lockdown in the whole country since March. And during those months, they didn't stop. They were just trying to figure out how to come back and how to make it possible with the right, let's say, with all the security measures and with the right procedures to make it safe for everyone and to make it possible. And they were the pioneers in opening a theater in the world, and as they are now. And since then, they've been open. Everyone in the theater, musicians, technical staff, administration, everyone, and also the audience is absolutely safe and responding to the security and the health care measurements. And yeah, and it's about finding solutions for that. That means that, of course, it's difficult for everyone, but we all have COVID tests weekly. We all have a very strict, very strict measurements of wearing masks and not being together in close spaces, etc. When we are together in a rehearsal space, we respect all the separation, the 1.5 meter separation. That we have this kind of I don't know how you say that, this kind of screens between musicians. And then for Siegfried, of course, the ultimate challenge was to put together an orchestra for Wagner, which is a huge orchestra. And we found a way after months of work and trying to find the way of putting some musicians in the audience. Some musicians in the pit. We have one of the biggest pits in opera orchestra pit in Europe, and putting some family of musicians in the different families on the side part of the audience.
Right.
And we've managed to put 87 musicians playing together, which for a Wagner orchestra is a little bit smaller in terms of the string size than in previous years, but still it's a full-size Wagner orchestra, and we are making it possible. And so far everything is going great, and there hasn't been any single case related to theater, related to the audience coming since June, any single let's say in a positive case of COVID. So everything is going in the right direction, and of course we are very happy that this is an example to the rest of the world.
Fantastic. I doubt Mrs. Merkel or Macron are watching workshops on the Bach suites, but I wish they were and they could listen to you, because that's the point. I think now we are really, I think all the theaters and concert venues are so ready to do what it takes to make it safe and to make the music live again. So let's keep spreading the word instead of the COVID. So so let's go. I think I would like to start with this, dear Pablo. I remember a stellar concert for me. In Freiburg, you were conducting an a cappella a concert, just choir, just voices. It was many years ago. It was just after we had our Schumann project, so it was probably something like 6 years ago or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes, I don't remember exactly the program, but I remember, and I was absolutely fascinated by your incredible faculty to work with voices and with lines and with the counterpoint and all these things. And I thought this is just, for us instrumentalists, this is the Valhalla. This is really the absolute ideal. How could you help us? There are many cellists watching, professional amateurs and everything. And can you help? How do we, with our little instrument, our little 4 strings, how can we make? Do you agree, first of all, that this suite, that it is inspired by vocal music in some ways, and can we make it lyrical?
Absolutely, and it's exactly when I was enjoying so much listening to you, what you had to say in this, let's say, very, let's say, simple. Let's say Gigue is a very simple structure. So 4 bars, 2 bars, and then it's expanding to 3 bars sometimes, and how the harmonic progression is. And I mean, it's only one instrument. It's a relatively small piece. This is not even a couple of minutes with the repeats, etc. But there is a big dramatic line arch, which is just I mean the script, let's say, so to say, the libretto, it's in the little detail in each harmonic movement, in how he expands the grouping of every bar, and in the harmonic relations, etc. This is the core of music since early 13th, 14th century until our days. This kind of intimate harmonic, chromatic, and melodic relations is the core of music. You cannot just hope or wait for an indication of piano or forte or crescendo diminuendo just written by the composer. Everything, the 99.9% is within the notes. And it's in the core of the music. And this, for me, it's the most important heritage that I have from many years conducting early music, conducting choir music, being myself a singer and then a choir conductor, and everything from, I mean, I'm doing Wagner now, but whatever I do in the repertoire, it's sustained by these principles. And of course, when you play cello, and especially in these suites, for me, this contains, it's a full encyclopedic piece when you find everything in only one instrument, one line. You can just create a whole polyphonic world, and in which, I mean, in the case of this Gigue, it's only one line, but of course it's suggesting different layers in the harmony. In other pieces, in the Zarabande, in the Allemande, it's a more polyphonic, let's say, structure, when there are some suggested voices that are overlapping, but still, it's everything is there. And your explanations about how to phrase, how to structure, how to make the big arc of the discourse, it's within the notes. And this has to be always the fundamental and main it's a principle to shape the whole. I mean, even it's a Gigue of not even 2 minutes, or a full symphony of 1 hour. This is these are the pillars of the discourse. And yes, I mean, it's all coming from the voice. It's all coming from polyphony. It's all coming from also the organic, because the music reflects the speech as well. And when you have this concert that you were referring to, was a concert with Balthasar Neumann and some choir. It was music by Pretorius, 3 different composers named Pretorius from North Germany, another Michael Pretorius, Hieronymus, Jacob Pretorius, and it was all music based on the Hoheslied, the Song of Songs. It's a book in the Bible, plenty full of erotism in the Bible. Composers use a lot this music, this text, to reflect into music sensualism, dissonance, and in a very basic way. We are talking about 16th century or early 17th century, maybe. And of course, there's nothing written in the score about instruments, about shaping music, about creating any climax, or everything is in the relation between tension and relaxation in the discourse, between in the chromatic discourse, and how he. So everything is there. And when conducting a Brahms symphony, Beethoven symphony, no matter what, this is the soul and the essence of music. And so I was so so happy and identified with what you were saying, and how to shape and in periods of 2 or 3 or 4 going to, one has to have this very strong conscious knowledge of the elementals of music.
It's so wonderful because it's funny. We had a few years when we had this Schumann project about 6 years ago. We had a big tour together and we talked about many different things, but we never actually talked about this. But this, for me, explains a lot what you just said, and probably contradict me if it's not the right thing. But maybe the fact that you started at your beginnings, you did mainly vocal. You say yourself you were a singer, maybe you still are, and you worked a lot with choirs, with and because I remember with Isabelle Faust and Alexander Melnikov that we were reflecting on this incredible. I have now the word in German, Geschmeidigkeit. This incredible suppleness. I don't know if it's the right word in English.
Subtleness.
That you managed to work on the sound of the orchestra. It was with the Freiburger Baroque Orchestra, absolutely amazing. That you were getting this, and somehow I have the feeling that it's because of what you just said. That the way you look at it, also that it's all coming from the voice, from the line. So it's really, really fantastic. As it happens, I received half an hour before the workshop, dear Pablo. I received very nice emails from people watching this show, and this is what I wanted to read to you because it's very, very nice. It's from Antonio, and you will see why I wanted to read you. So I'll try to, dear Jean-Guihen, after your last episode on the Gavot, I've been thinking of sending you thanks for the series, a beginner. So I'll try to go to the main part. Oh, is your son there?
Yeah, he's just behind me, and he was.
He's just waking up. Wonderful. So I will just quickly. So anyway, he has been following all the episodes, and a friend of his also sent him links to the Adagio series as a gift, as a birthday gift. I was so happy to hear that. But anyways, that's not the reason I'm reading this. But he said, "Oh, I see today the participation of Pablo Heras-Casado is foreseen for the episode on the Gigue. I don't know him personally, but he happens to be from Granada in Spain, where I was also born, and I remember some concerts with his starting steps in the orchestral direction way more than 20 years ago. These two circumstances made me think on how small this infinite music world is and gave me further impulse to send this message to you. Thank you again. I look forward to watching the episode." So you have a greeting from Granada, from Antonio.
Fantastic. I wonder, it means so much. It's 25 years ago since I started in Granada, precisely, conducting music by the 16th century, and with my early music ensemble, and then little by little doing orchestral things. And those were important, very fundamental years for me, for starting into this. And this, I was in my long discourse before this, made a very strong impact in me and how I conceive music making in this early music experiences back in those years in Granada were very important. So it's thank you for bringing me back this.
Back there, Antonio. Thank you, Antonio. Well, actually, Pablo, I will, and dear friends out there, I hope you will forgive me. I exceptionally would like to talk about a CD release because we just in the coming days, in the very next days and weeks, I don't know the exact date, but I think it's next week already.
I think it's something like the 26th of February, I think.
All right, save the dates, everybody.
26th of February, I think. Yeah.
26th of February on Harmonia Mundi, triple concerto by Beethoven. Pablo Heras-Casado is conducting, Freiburger Baroque Orchestra. I have the immense joy of playing the cello, and with my stellar colleagues, Isabelle Faust on the violin and Alexander Melnikov on the forte piano. And this is our second project together, dear Pablo, with the Freiburger, with this team after
Yes.
the big Schumann project many years ago. And this has been such a beautiful experience. I'm so excited. So everybody, try to keep your ears open. This is coming out now, and I'm very much looking forward to this.
It's this was, of course, after how many years was the Schumann? How many years ago the
I
Schumann
would say,
recording?
yeah, 6 years.
6 or 7 years exactly. Yeah. This was one of the. I'm sure. I'm completely sure in my life will remain one of the most intense and rewarding and amazing and special projects in my life be to be 1 month with you three, with Isabel, Alexander, and you, and of course my dear Freiburger Baroque Orchestra. Absolutely. I mean, living with all these three concertos, that they say every evening, playing the three concertos plus this Allegro Scherzo finale by Schumann, and recording it was an amazing process, and still so many people is reminding this tour, these recordings, and the fact that we years after, I mean 7 years after, we could reunite the same team that Harmonia Mundi is calling. It's calling in a familiar way, but the dream team again. So the dream team is back, and exactly in a moment when none of us had the chance of making music for during a lot of time. For the orchestra, for me, was the first time making music after 4 months of lockdown, after this pandemic situation. It was something that was unbelievable. The first moments when we just started playing music together, and
Yeah.
not even just one orchestra and a conductor, but three soloists, a conductor, and an orchestra. It's the ultimate challenge and the ultimate big celebration of music. So many people putting their souls, and after so much time being silent in a recording studio, rehearsing and making it. It was something so special, and as we always try, that let's try to make it from scratch. Let's try to rethink, to make it, to forget about what we did before, and think the piece as let's take a new chance to make it alive and to make it modern and revolutionary, and let's forget what we did before, and let's try to make it happen in such a spontaneous way for the recording, and I think it is going to be very, very special. Of course, now people has to wait until the 26th of February to listen to it, but I am already convinced that this will be something that will bring all that emotion and all that all the situation, the spirit of that situation into the recording.
Yes, you're so right about the emotionality of this moment. I remember that 3 weeks before, we weren't 100% sure this was going to happen, because we didn't know if you were going to be allowed to come from Spain and do your quarantine and all these things. And you are absolutely. I remember then the first notes, and they are so special, of course. In the bass, when when you started with the Freiburger, everybody was. There was a silence in the room, which was just absolutely exceptional. So yes, and you're right. I really hope and think that the intensity with which we experience this moment will show in the recording. So
yeah,
thank
and
you
of
so
course
much.
you were the hero. I mean, this is cello, and the cellist is the hero of this recording, and it was amazing. And you were in such a generous and quiet and calm and positive, because it's a big deal. It's a big deal for a cellist, this concerto.
Yes,
And
it is
that
challenging.
you have also to be so generous, not just being the only one, but you have to be generous. It's a big piece. It's a big orchestral part as well, but you have two other colleagues. But of course, it's the cello part is demanding. It's very exposed, and so you have to be, of course, leading, but at the same time very generous. And after all that time, away from the studio recording and from playing with an orchestra, you were so positive and calm and ready and embracing everyone. I remember that, and it was fantastic.
Thank you so much, Pablo. And I just heard today, there are a lot of news today that I hear. I got a call also 3 hours ago telling me that on Adagio they are going to show again, to put online again for a few weeks, together with the release of the CD. We had, during the recording, one run through for the cameras, and they are going to put it there, so everybody out there will be able to also watch.
That's true. Of course, the Adagio was an important partner of this moment, because they were present with the support and with their cameras, and also sharing to the world this precious, unique moment live in the very moment. And Adagio was a big partner and supporter for this. Yeah.
Pablo, many thanks. It was wonderful to have you in this series. That was my dream for many weeks. So it happened. Now I'm a happy man.
Me too.
Everybody, I'll see you next week. Next week we enter the world of the Sixth Suite, and we will start with a young, brilliant soloist, Sergei Malov. Because amongst many instruments he's playing, he's a brilliant violinist, but he also plays the viola da spalla, for which supposedly these suites were probably composed, and he's going to show us how the Sixth Suite sounds on the viola da spalla. And
I saw that in some videos, and it's fascinating. I discovered with him, this quote of the viola da spalla, and he's of course mastering that instrument in such a way, and it's an amazing new perspective on that music.
So that's why I wanted to have him for the Prelude of the Sixth. He's going to be there next week. So see you all next week. Stay safe and healthy.